What if everything you've been told about hard work is, well, not wrong exactly, but incomplete?
Hmm.
We grow up with this equation just ingrained in us. Hard work plus time equals success.
Right, it's the standard formula.
But what if getting rich or, achieving massive influence has way less to do with the hours you clock in and almost everything to do with how you think?
It does sound a little bit like a late night infomercial pitch, doesn't it?
Oh,
Think your way to millions.
it does. It sounds too easy.
But when you actually look at the data, and specifically the massive analytical work we're covering today, that question is really the foundation of some of the biggest success stories of the last century.
And we aren't just pulling this out of thin air. Today, we are doing a deep dive into the mindset of wealth. We're going to be unpacking the grandfather of all personal development literature, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
And before anyone rolls their eyes, thinking this is just, positive thinking fluff, we have to establish the credibility here. This book wasn't written over a weekend. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years researching this. He didn't just guess. He was actually commissioned to interview over 500 of the most successful people of his time.
And we're talking about absolute titans: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell.
The people who literally built the infrastructure of the modern world. Precisely. Hill shadowed them, he interviewed them over and over again. He was looking for that common denominator.
Was there a formula?
Exactly. And the mission of our deep dive today is to unpack that formula. It's not just about making money, though that's a big part of it. It's about a success mindset, a specific mental discipline that bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
So let's get right to the core thesis. The source material boils it down to one sentence that I think everyone has heard, but maybe few people actually understand.
Oh, absolutely. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
That's the one.
It's the central premise. Success is created in the mind before it ever appears in real life. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But the execution of that idea is where 99% of people get stuck. They treat it like a metaphor. Hill treats it like physics.
Okay, let's unpack conceive and believe, because I think a lot of people hear that and, they think it means just sitting on the couch visualizing a Ferrari.
And waiting for it to show up in the driveway.
Yeah, exactly. But the source material is very specific. Wishing is not the starting point.
Right. And this brings us to the very first principle, desire. But not just, I sort of want this. Hill calls it a burning desire.
There's a huge difference, isn't there?
A massive functional difference.
I love this distinction in the notes. It says, weak wishes just don't work. I can wish I was an astronaut, but if I'm not studying physics, it's just a daydream.
Exactly. A weak wish is passive. It's a preference. A burning desire is active. It's an obsession. The book makes it clear that just saying, I want to be rich, is totally useless.
Too vague.
Way too vague for your brain to act on. To really trigger this principle, you need clarity on 3 specific things.
Walk us through those, because I feel like this is where most people stop.
They do. First, you have to know exactly what you want. Not more money, but a specific amount. I will earn $100,000, or I will run a marathon in under 4 hours. Precision is key.
Right.
Second, why do you want it? What's the emotional driver? And here's the kicker, the third part that almost everyone ignores. What are you willing to give up to get it?
That's the reality check, the whole something for nothing fallacy.
It is. There is always a price. Success is an exchange. And Hill is crystal clear. You cannot have the reward without the sacrifice. If you aren't clear on what you're willing to give up, leisure time, comfort, old habits, then it's just a wish.
A burning desire means you've already accepted the cost. It reminds me of that idea of burning the boats. You leave yourself no way back.
No retreat.
So, okay, we have this burning desire. We know what we want. But then you hit that wall of self-doubt, that voice that says, who are you to do this? Which brings us to the second principle, faith.
And we have to be careful with the word faith here because it can carry a lot of religious baggage. In this context, faith is defined as applied self-belief.
Just pure confidence.
Absolute confidence that you can do what you've set out to do, regardless of the current evidence.
Source material has a pretty hard truth on this. It basically says, if you don't believe in yourself, the world won't either.
It's a mirror effect. If you walk into a negotiation or a sales call doubting your own value, you are subconsciously broadcasting that doubt. Your voice, your posture, your words. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Hill argues that faith isn't just something you're born with.
You're not just lucky to be confident.
Not at all. It's a state of mind that can be induced.
Induced. You mean you can manufacture confidence? That feels counterintuitive.
It does, but think of it like programming. This connects directly to the mechanism of autosuggestion. This is probably the most technical part, but it's crucial. The source explains that by repeating instructions to your own mind, you can actually hack your own belief system.
So you're basically brainwashing yourself, but for a good reason.
In a way, yes. Think of your mind as hardware. Autosuggestion is the code you write. And the key insight here is that your subconscious mind is non-judgmental. It accepts whatever you feed it.
It doesn't argue. It doesn't say, hey, that's not true.
Nope. If you feed it a lie often enough, it accepts it as reality.
So if I walk around all day thinking, I'm bad with money, I'm unlucky, my subconscious just goes, okay, noted, and then steers me towards situations that prove it.
Precisely. And that's the danger the source highlights. Negative self-talk is just as powerful as positive self-talk. It is a double-edged sword.
That is actually terrifying. It means we're usually sabotaging ourselves without even realizing it.
It is, but it's also the key to the prison. Because the reverse is also true. If you repeatedly think and say positive affirmations, and this is the key detail words mixed with emotion, that eventually becomes your new truth. You overwrite the old code.
Why is the emotion part so important? Why can't I just say, I am wealthy 1,000 times?
Because the subconscious speaks the language of feeling, not logic. This ties into the 9th principle, the subconscious mind. Hill describes it as a fertile garden. It doesn't care what you plant. It will grow poison ivy just as lushly as it will grow roses.
So if you plant fear, you get a crop of failure. You plant faith, you get opportunity.
That's the analogy. Positive emotions attract success. Negative emotions like fear, jealousy, doubt, they act as chemical blocks. They literally stop growth. So the goal of autosuggestion, of reading your goals aloud, is to plant the right seeds so your subconscious works for you.
Okay, so we have the desire, we're building the belief, we're programming the subconscious, but you can't just meditate your way to a fortune. We need practical application. Let's talk about the toolkit.
Right. This moves us from the abstract to the tactical. The first tool is specialized knowledge.
Now, this was interesting to me because we grow up hearing knowledge is power, but the source material debunks that a little bit. It says general knowledge does not create success.
It's a huge misconception. We think the person who knows the most trivia is the smartest. But Hill argues success comes from applied knowledge. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes actual power when you organize it into a plan.
There's that famous story about Henry Ford
Yeah.
in the source material that illustrates this perfectly. The libel suit.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic. A newspaper called Ford an ignorant pacifist. Ford sues them. In court, the opposing lawyers try to prove he's ignorant by just grilling him with general knowledge questions.
They were trying to humiliate him on the stand.
Totally. Asking things like, who was Benedict Arnold? Or how many soldiers did the British send to America in 1776?
And Ford's response is just legendary.
It is. He finally gets tired of it, points at the lawyer, and says essentially, why should I clutter my mind with that when I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk? If I need an answer, I push a button and get an expert. Who knows?
That is such a power move, but the lesson is profound. He didn't need to know the facts. He needed to know how to get the facts.
He knew how to organize knowledge. That's specialized knowledge. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to be the one who can direct the smart people.
That feels like a perfect segue to the next tool. Once you have the knowledge, you need to know what to do with it. Hill says this requires imagination. He breaks it into two types, right?
Yes. He calls it the workshop of the mind. He distinguishes between synthetic imagination and creative imagination.
Let's clarify those. Synthetic sounds artificial.
Not artificial, more like rearrangement. Synthetic imagination is taking old concepts and ideas and rearranging them into new combinations. Most business is this. Uber didn't invent cars. They just rearranged the connection between driver and rider.
That's synthetic imagination at work and creative imagination.
That's the lightning strike, the hunches, the inspirations, the brand new ideas. But Hill argues you can't really tap into that until you've mastered the synthetic part first.
And once you have that idea, it has to be crystallized, which brings us to organized planning.
The formula is pretty blunt. Dream plus plan equals a goal. Dream without a plan is just a fantasy.
You need a roadmap.
You do. But here's the critical strategy that really stood out to me. It's where most people fail.
What's the failure point?
Rigidity. The source says, if the plan fails, you change the plan, not the goal.
Ooh, that is good. I feel like most people When their plan fails, they just assume the goal was impossible.
Exactly. They downgrade the goal. Well, I guess I can't be a millionaire. I'll settle for a little more. Hill says no. The goal is fixed. The plan is fluid. If plan A fails, you move to plan B. You don't wait for perfection. You act, test, and adjust.
So we have the mindset, we have the tools, now we need the engine. And the source material highlights two massive components here. The first one is the mastermind.
This is arguably the most famous concept from the book. The quote is, "No individual has ever achieved great success alone."
Which really goes against that American archetype of the self-made man, doesn't it? The lone genius in the garage.
It completely dismantles it. The self-made idea is a myth. A mastermind group is a collection of the right people with the right thinking and the right energy working toward a definite purpose.
So it's not just having employees or friends, it's about synergy.
Synergy is the key word. Hill says when two or more people work toward a common goal in harmony, they generate a third mind, the mastermind.
1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly. You tap into the knowledge and energy of the other members. You generate ideas you simply could not have come up with on your own.
I really like that. It takes the pressure off. But even with a team, even with a mastermind, things get hard, which leads to the fuel for the engine, persistence.
The great separator. This is the one quality that distinguishes the almost successful from the truly successful.
There is that story in the source material about R.U. Darby and the gold mine. We have to share that. It captures the pain of quitting so perfectly.
It's both tragic and redeeming. Darby goes west during the gold rush, claims a mine, starts digging. He strikes a vein of gold. It's a huge find. But then the vein just disappears.
He hit a fault line or something.
Right. He keeps digging, desperate. Drills, blasts, nothing. Finally, he quits. He sells all his machinery to a junk man for a few $100 and goes home defeated.
And this is where the junk man gets smart.
The junk man calls a mining engineer. The engineer looks at the fault lines, does a quick calculation, and says, the vein just shifted. Dig here. They dug 3 feet from where Darby stopped.
3 feet.
3 feet. And they pulled out millions of dollars in gold.
3 feet from gold. That is gut-wrenching.
It is. But Darby later said it was the most valuable lesson of his life. He went on to become a huge success in insurance because he told himself, I stopped 3 feet from gold, but I will never stop because a customer says no.
So true persistence is continuing even when the results aren't visible. It's easy to persist when you're winning.
But it's essential when it looks like you're losing. Persistence is the insurance policy against failure.
So we have this incredible framework: desire, faith, planning, persistence. But if it's this clear, why isn't everyone wealthy? The book identifies one major villain in the story.
The biggest enemy, fear.
And it's not just being scared. The source calls fear a misuse of imagination.
Yeah.
That really struck me. When we worry, we are just using our imagination to create things we don't want.
It's a profound way to look at it. Instead of visualizing success, we visualize disaster. Hill breaks this down into the 6 major fears. I think it's valuable to list them.
Let's run through them. The first is obvious: the fear of poverty.
Right. The fear of not having enough. It paralyzes risk-taking. It keeps you in a job you hate because it's safe.
The second one, criticism.
This is massive, especially today. The fear of what other people will say. Who does she think she is? It kills more dreams than lack of money ever could.
Then we have the more primal ones: illness, loss of love, old age, and death.
These are wired into us. But Hill's point is that while these fears are natural, they are obstacles. If you are constantly operating from a place of defense, you can't be on offense. To succeed, you have to take action despite them.
So courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it.
Exactly. If you let fear dictate your boundaries, your world shrinks. If you push through it, your world expands.
This has been a massive download of information. We've covered the psychological foundation, the practical tools, the emotional barriers. Let's try to synthesize this for everyone listening.
If you look at the big picture, the summary is this. The principles of desire, belief, planning, action, and persistence are like timeless physics. They applied in 1937, and they apply today.
And the final takeaway really drives it home. Being rich happens in the brain first, and the bank account second.
That's it. Success is a result of a formula, not luck. If you change your input, your thoughts, your beliefs, your associations, you have to change your output. It's cause and effect.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you, the listener, with a provocative thought. We talked of the mastermind, that you need the right energy and the right people around you.
This is the challenge.
So look at your circle right now, the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who in your life might be blocking your burning desire through their negative influence? Who's feeding your fears instead of your faith?
And the really tough question is, are you brave enough to change that dynamic?
It's an uncomfortable question, but your answer might just determine your future. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you on the next one.